Good morning. I would like to call the Senate Rules Committee to order. Please call the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. There are a lot of people here, and I know that many of you are here to testify on particular pieces of legislation, but let me lay some ground rules out for you. We have 26 bills to get through in a very short period of time. And I am going to adhere very strictly to some time limits. And when we get to testimony, each side will have 5 minutes to testify. That's 5 minutes total for each side. And I am going to cut people off at that 5-minute time limit. And that includes the people on Zoom. Okay. I understand that a lot of people have signed up to speak virtually. And let me be very clear, 5 minutes, you are being cut off at 5 minutes. And then we're moving on to the other side for testimony.
Madam Chair.
So because we have a number of bills to get through.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Spruill.
and when you say 5 minutes, sometimes one person get up.
Let me be clear.
I'm trying to finish my question.
Go ahead,
Thank you,
Senator
ma'am.
Spruill.
I'm saying that one person will get up. They have 10 people behind them. That one person took up the whole 5 minutes.
And then I don't think I'm speaking any other language other than English. And I'm being very clear. If that one person takes up the whole time, then all the time will have been exhausted by that one person.
That's not fair.
I'm sorry. The time will be displayed as to how much time is left. And if that one person has taken up all of your time, I'm sorry. I will note how much time is left. But we have 26 bills to get through today, and this is our last meeting. There are no more meetings after today. So I will indicate this is how much more time we have left. And if that person wants to continue to talk, it is incumbent upon those that are behind that individual to keep that person moving. Okay. All right, we will begin with those individuals who are not on the committee. So we'll take the non-committee members first, and then we will begin with our committee members. Senator Reeves.
Two Senate joint resolutions before the committee. Do you have a preference?
And Senator Reeves, I think we can dispense with yours rather quickly. You have Senate Joint Resolution 286, and it is commending a non-Virginia citizen.
Madam Chair, this is the ambassador from Taiwan who's coming to visit on February 16th to meet with members.
It is still
of the
a non-Virginia citizens. We only do commending resolutions for Virginia citizens.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Okay. So I would like a motion to, do we need a motion on that?
I move we pass the bill by for the day.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that Senate Joint Resolution 286 be passed by for the day. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, now we have Senate Joint Resolution 287, dealing with flight training programs for veterans.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I have Bud Oakey, who is part of the Civil Air Patrol, to kind of describe a little bit of what that is, and it won't take not even 5 minutes.
There's one portion of your resolution that is problematic, that is encouraging the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. We don't get into telling the federal government what to do.
Madam Chair, can we make that the Virginia Department of Veterans Affairs? Would that make it easier?
It certainly would.
Madam Chair, if someone would make that motion where we have that, we could.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we amend the resolution to remove the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to the Virginia Department of Veterans Affairs. All those in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
Madam Chair, this is to encourage dialogue to make sure that flight schools have gotten very, very expensive. We're trying to get more of our students into aerospace, there's a shortage of airline pilots, and this just strongly encourages our Virginia Department of Veterans Affairs to really seek out where they can get assistance.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think I need you.
Madam Chairman, Bud Oakey with the Virginia Wing of the United States Air Force Auxiliary Civil Air Patrol. Many of our veterans in our organization are looking to be pilots, as well as our cadets are looking to be pilots. Contrary to the SIC codes and the NAC codes, we have a pilot shortage and a maintainer shortage in America and especially in Virginia. The process by which the Veterans Administration works through the Virginia agency that certifies this is a very lengthy and timely process, but as we all know, prices at the gas pump, including on aviation fuel, rises dramatically, and it's up and down like a seesaw. It's not allowing our flight schools to adjust pricing for these classes for VA benefits, and so through the state authorizing agency, we need to try to expedite that pricing and go to a formula basis. What this resolution would do would be encouraging us or our state agency to work with the VA, which is their partner, to expedite this process so our veterans are able to get the flight training they need to move on into commercial aviation.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Anyone here in opposition to Senate Joint Resolution 287?
If anyone would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically. There are no speakers electronically, Madam Chairman.
Second.
As amended. Okay, Senate Joint Resolution 287 has been moved for approval as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you,
Thank you,
Senator
Madam
Reeves. Yeah. Next is Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I think Amigo has a substitute to distribute, Madam Chair,
A motion on the substitute?
and I can explain that very quickly if I may. Madam Chair, as you recall, last
Hold
Friday.
on, we need to adopt your substitute. Is this Senate Bill 1500? It's moved and seconded that we adopt the substitute. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we have a substitute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you recall, we took this up last Friday, and we didn't have the language exactly right, but you took testimony on it, and we discussed it a little bit. But this was the program from Potomac River Fisheries Commission, which is part of the compact between Virginia and Maryland on the Potomac River. And they started a program some time ago, and they used state money to seed that. And then they charged people dues to participate in it. The issue was brought to me by the Commissioner of Marine Resources of Virginia and the Watermen's Association down there. As you recall, you heard Mr. Jenkins speak. And so what this language would now do is require enabling legislation for them to do a program like this by both Virginia and Maryland. We don't believe they had authority to do it to start with. I can't swear to that, but we've done a lot of research through the compact, both Virginia Marine Resources, and I know Amigo has worked terribly hard on this for days, Madam Chair. And so we think this will clear up the issue, and if they have enabling legislation by both states, they can do it. If they don't, they can't.
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Are there any questions to Senator Stewart on this substitute? Hold up. Anyone here to speak on the substitute? Anyone here in opposition? Do you want to speak in opposition? Very quickly, you got 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For clarification, Madam Chair, is it 3 minutes for myself and Mr.
Yes.
France? Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Just a few points of clarification. First, we do believe we have the authority. Pardon?
Tell us who you are.
Oh, my apologies. I'm so worried about the time. Martin Gary, Executive Secretary for the Potomac River Fisheries Commission. Thank you. I'm testifying in opposition. We do believe we have the authority. This is not a program that was put together willy-nilly. I want to let you know before I have my last seconds who was on the Blue Ribbon panel that put this together, that worked with the MRC and the Maryland Department of Natural Resources to put this together. But a couple of points I wanted to mention. As the senator said, there was seed money that came from our general operations funds, some of which comes through an appropriation from the state of Virginia to PRFC, as does Maryland. That was used to jumpstart this program to get oysters on a bar that was devoid of oysters, and I have scientific data to prove that. Last week, you heard from a waterman that told you this is a valuable bar that had wild oysters on it. The previous decade before that, we had fishery independent surveys and harvest data that shows there's no oysters on that bar. So the bar was selected because it had no oysters on it, but it was historically productive. So you need to know that. There's a disconnect on that theme that's being presented to you. Next, as far as the money goes, for the last 6 years, they've been functioning completely independently. They have used only their own money from the participants. So we seeded it initially to get the program going, and then it was continued with only the participants' money. Another point, the program is open access. Anyone in this room can walk into our office tomorrow and join the program. People come and they go. It is a completely open access program. Lastly, I want to let you know that this was well thought out back in 2011, and some of the members of the committee, I won't read them all, but ones you probably know that are very influential and knowledgeable about oysters included Bill Pruitt, longtime Virginia Marine Resources Commissioner, and Gordon Burkett, Margaret Ransone, Delegate Ransone from Bevins Oysters, A.J. Erskine, a current VMRC Commissioner, Lake Coward, Wayne France, who will talk in just a moment, Dr. James Wesson, who has over 40 years of experience as the lead shellfish biologist with VMRC, Dr. Mitch Tarnowski from Maryland DNR, Dr. Roger Mann from Virginia Institute of Marine Science, Dr. Sarah Taylor Rogers, the Secretary of Maryland Natural Resources. These people were all participatory in choosing this bar and choosing this program. And this program has been set up to be self-sustaining, and it is now. And there is another member here, I have 9 seconds left, Wayne France, who is a current VMRC commissioner, and he was on the Blue Ribbon panel as well. 2 seconds to go. Thank you for your time today.
Since I did say 5 minutes, I'll give you 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Wayne France, and I'm a commercial waterman in Virginia. I'd like to speak about the OMR. I am a member of the VMRC Commission, Potomac River Fisheries Commission, chairman of the Shellfish Advisory Commission for Virginia. The OMRs we're speaking about today is a self-sustaining program that anyone can get into. It's open to anybody. It takes care of itself financially. The members take care of that itself. And I think it's a worthwhile program for watermen to stay into and to participate in. And I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Madam Chairman, there are no speakers on Zoom.
Okay, Senator Stewart.
That's okay, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I don't dispute anything that Wayne or Mr. Gary said. I think the issue from VMRC's perspective and others is that state money was used to seed a program on public bottom, and then they charge people to participate in it, and not quite sure if that's an appropriate way to go about a program, and there is no oversight of it. And so I leave it up to you all. I have done my job by bringing it before the committee, and that's what I'll do. That's what I do.
Okay, thank you, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We have the substitute Senate Bill 1500 before us. Silence doesn't work.
Move the report as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1500 be reported as a substitute. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 5, noes 12.
Ayes 5, noes 12. Senate Bill 1500 as a substitute does not report.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Senator Chase.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Senate Resolution number 87. I'd like to begin, if I could, by starting with an amendment. I would like to strike the word conception and add fertilization, if I could, please.
We have that amendment. It's been moved and seconded that the amendment be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? The amendment is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a simple bill that defines when life begins. It honors the science. Whereas the terms human person and human being include every person of the species, Homo sapiens, at all stages of life, including the moment of fertilization, moment of cloning, or other moment at which an individual of the human species comes into being. And whereas the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States guarantees equal rights and protections under the law to all persons, and whereas the right to life guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States is vested in each human being, now therefore be it that we, the Senate of Virginia, would recognize the right to life begins at fertilization. I'm going to cut to the chase here, and Madam Chair, I would like to start with, I've got 3 quick points. One is from Dr. Kondik, who is Associate Professor of Neurobiology and Adjunct Professor of Pediatrics at the University of Utah School of Medicine, and he says this: the conclusion that human life begins at sperm-egg fusion is uncontested, objective, based on the universally accepted scientific method of distinguishing different cell types from each other and an ample scientific evidence, thousands of independent peer-reviewed publications. Moreover, it is entirely independent of any specific ethical, moral, political, or religious view of human life or of human embryos. Indeed, this definition does not directly address the central ethical questions surrounding the embryo. What value ought society place on human life at the earliest stages of development? A neutral examination of the evidence merely establishes the onset of a new human life at the scientifically well-defined moment of conception, a conclusion that unequivocally states that human embryos from the one-cell stage forward are indeed living individuals of the human species. I've only got 2 other points I really want to make here, and this one is from Human Embryology and Teratology. This says, although life is a continuous process, fertilization is a critical landmark because under ordinary circumstances, a new genetically distinct human organism is therefore formed. The combination of 23 chromosomes present in each pronucleus results in 46 chromosomes in the zygote. Thus, the diploid number is restored and the embryonic genome is formed. The embryo now exists as a genetic unity. A new study has found that 96% of biologists believe that life begins at fertilization, and that's the bill. The bill simply defines that life begins at the moment of fertilization, and with that, I move that we pass the bill.
You can't make the motion, Senator
Okay, I'm
Chase.
sorry.
Thank you.
Getting ahead of myself.
So, thank you, Senator Chase. Those who are in support of the bill, you have 5 minutes, or the resolution, rather.
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in support of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Karis Mitchell with the Virginia Catholic Conference, and we support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Todd Gack on behalf of the Family Foundation. I'll just say that we are fearfully and wonderfully made with a specific purpose in this life, and so we support this resolution.
Thank you.
My name is Donna Machin of Matthews, Virginia. I am a former public school teacher and currently a homeschool teacher, and I'm a farmer's wife. How many of you enjoyed eggs for breakfast this morning? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? You've heard that age-old question. The world says we don't know. God says the chicken because the Word says He spoke chickens into existence on the 6th day. Growing up, I had a book about the life of an egg. It began with the fertilization of the egg, and it traced life until the chicken was hatched. An egg can be laid without a rooster, but there's no life. Life begins at conception, just as it is with people who were made by God on the same day, day 6. Each of us was given life by God and our parents. Some of us think we need to just see the world to get a better view. We think some people need to get down on the farm. Thank you.
Peter Machin, Foster, Virginia. I believe that life begins at conception, and I urge you to vote yes on SR 87. Thank you.
Thank you. Those on Zoom?
We have one speaker on Zoom, Madam Chairman. Vic Nichols, please unmute and provide your testimony now.
Thank you. I hope that you will move to report this great bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Those in opposition?
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically. We have several speakers, Madam Chairman.
5 minutes.
Lexi White, please unmute and provide your testimony.
Good morning, committee members. This resolution is an attempt to push an extremist agenda that ultimately contributes to shame and stigma around the full range of reproductive health care. It contributes to an extremist agenda to punish patients and providers and individuals most vulnerable amongst us in our communities who deserve the human right to have full agency over their own bodies and lives. We see this resolution as reproductive oppression at its finest and ask the Senate members here today to reject this resolution and any and all efforts to push standard, legal, critical reproductive health care, including abortion care, out of reach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie Lockhart, please unmute and provide your testimony now.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. I'm Jamie Lockhart, and I serve as Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Advocates of Virginia. We are in strong opposition to this legislation, which not only would be a total abortion ban, but also has implications for IVF, for miscarriage management, and it would lead to criminalization of healthcare in Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you.
That completes the speakers, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. We have Senate Resolution 87 before us.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I move that we PBI this.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Resolution 87 be passed by indefinitely. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. Resolution is passed by indefinitely. Thank you, Senator Chase. We will now move to, I think that completes all non-committee members. We'll now move to committee members. We'll start with you, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. And I have Senate Bill 1078 on the siting of data centers, and then Senate Joint Resolution 240 on the study on the impacts of data centers. So I'll take them in whichever order you'd like. And if you'd like me to consolidate them, I think the witnesses will probably be the same.
Whatever floats your boat.
Well, why don't we do this? I'm going to put on the presentation for both bills, and I think the witnesses will be the same, and I think the opponents will be the same. So let me just set the context a bit. Data centers have come into this state based on a conscious decision we made to give them a sales and use tax exemption over a decade ago. And that sales and use tax exemption has cost us over $1 billion in lost revenue. It's about $100 million roughly per year. Last year, or excuse me, 2021, I think the last year we have the data, it cost us $124 million in lost revenue for the sales and use exemption for data centers. And as a result, we've attracted data centers. We now have over 20% of all the data centers in the world are located in Northern Virginia. And it has taken up a tremendous amount of our electricity load. It's taken up a tremendous amount of space. And as you know, this is proliferating the digital gateway, which is planned for Prince William County. That digital gateway will take up the same square footage as 144 Walmart supercenters. So we're talking about a massive expansion of a commercial use, which is very energy intensive and very water intensive, primarily in the rural crescent of Northern Virginia. Now, unbeknownst to me, after I had filed this legislation, Governor Youngkin announced his intention to bring in $35 billion through Amazon for additional data centers. So this is going to be basically the largest growth industry in the state for the next generation. and we have no guardrails on it right now, none. And we have historic sites, we have agricultural lands, we have vulnerable communities that are going to be sitting next to these data centers, which are, again, are going to be absorbing the electric load, leading to the creation of high transmission electric lines, sucking up the water table, and having a really extraordinary environmental impact. So I have two bills. And I will bring up the first bill first, which is Senate Bill 1078, which is fairly targeted. I'm going to make it even more targeted. And what I'd like to do, Madam Chair, if I'm going to make an amendment, which on line 17 will strike the words "or other historically significant site" as designated by the Department of Historic Resources, if I could make that motion and get a second. And what that will do is effectively take out 123 historic sites, so we'd strictly be talking about national and state parks, and I'll speak to that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that amendment be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
All right, so now we're down to national or state parks, so data centers within a mile of a national or state park. There's the obvious one, which is in western Prince William, you have the historic Manassas Battlefield site and Conway Robinson State Park, and the Digital Gateway will literally come right between them. For those of you that are Civil War followers like I am, that is actually the exact site on Pageland Road where the Iron Brigade from Minnesota fought the Stonewall Brigade from Western Virginia in one of the most significant battles, which is not on the national park site because it predated Second Manassas. But these are historic sites, and we have kept them consciously free of development for generations, literally since the war. And the Digital Gateway, of course, would land right there. And I just believe, as someone that's had a little bit of history, like many of you, that I do believe we need to create parameters, and that's what we do as a state assembly. So this bill would address that. I recognize it is usurping local land use. I respect that. Sometimes we usurp local authority, such as when we reopened schools a couple years ago. It's just a decision we make. And so I put that bill before you. It is extremely targeted at this point, and that would be the first bill. The second bill is a resolution, and I do have a substitute that I might offer if you want me to do that now. Let's go ahead. I have a substitute, and I'll second that.
Moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we have the substitute.
And the substitute basically is a resolution to, at least at a minimum, let's study this issue. Let's study the environmental impacts. Let's study the job creation, the job growth. And I recognize my friends in the union community are here, and there are going to be jobs created to build these. Emphasize build these buildings. How many jobs are going to be created in terms of operating these buildings is an open question. I think very few. But I just think we need to study the impacts of this industry, which is going to overwhelm us in Northern Virginia if we're not careful. So those are the two bills, and I have many, many witnesses, and I'm happy to be quiet.
Okay, so let's begin the testimony, and we can do the testimony on both. And because we're doing the testimony on both, I'm going to extend the time to 7 minutes.
That's fine.
So let's begin testimony for those who are in support of Senate Bill 1070. 1078, and the resolution. Okay.
Those on Zoom who would like to speak on this bill, either in favor or opposition, please raise your hand electronically.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm Alexander McCauley. On behalf of the American Battlefield Trust, we protect Revolutionary and Civil War battlefields, and we lose land all the time to data centers. So we hope you'll support this bill.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Elena Schlossberg with the Coalition to Protect Prince William County. There is no Virginian that will not feel the impacts of data center sprawl, whether it's brownouts, increased emissions, electric bills, transmission lines, or water quality. No one says it better than the SCC legal staff in the post-hearing brief for the Haymarket AWS transmission line. Thus, in viewing these line extensions in large contingent loads, the Commission may wish to require the customer requiring such project to put some of their own skin in the game. Otherwise, the general public, already burdened by the environmental and aesthetic impacts of otherwise unneeded transmission projects, is also not burdened with the 100% of the unnecessary costs. Virginians are here today from across the Commonwealth, and we are telling you that there needs to be some constraints, and we want you to know that we know that you know We know you know the facts. Please support SB 1078 and HR 240.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Kyle Hart. I'm here on behalf of the National Parks Conservation Association. I don't want to go for too long. I know we have a bunch of folks that are here to speak. NPCA views data centers threatening national parks as one of the top issues in the state of Virginia. Chap mentioned the Prince William Digital Gateway. We are also tracking several other data center developments quite literally inside of the congressionally authorized boundary of national parks or directly adjacent to other parks. Also in Prince William County, 60-acre development literally inside of the boundary of Prince William Forest Park. The brand new state park that this body created last year, Culpeper Battlefield State Park, is also under threat from data centers. Wilderness Battlefield and Culpeper. This goes on and on and on. This bill, 1078, puts reasonable restrictions on data center development under Virginia's most historic and preserved resources. In support of Senate Resolution 240, I think it's time that the state take a really good hard look at this and figure out climate implications, water implications, land use implications, and tax use implications. So thank you. We urge you to support.
Thank you to the committee. I'm Chris Miller from the Piedmont Environmental Council. The big picture is your responsibility. You know what we're worried about. It's a tripling of the energy and infrastructure in Virginia, tripling, solely for the expansion of data centers. But for data centers, we are declining in our energy use because of our work on efficiency, good land use planning, good transportation planning. Data centers alone will cause a 300% increase in the infrastructure and generation we need just to meet their needs, not to mention violations of the Clean Air Act that are being proposed by the Department of Environmental Quality just this week. Please support 1078 and allow the study to go forward. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Chris Lane, Virginia League of Conservation Voters. We know that as far back as 2021, the data center usage represented 1,688 megawatts. That's 325 coastal Virginia offshore wind farms. And this, we need to have a plan moving forward as we develop these. And these bills are about impacts across the Commonwealth, about are we protecting communities, our natural resources, and our water? Are we able to meet our climate goals as we build more data centers? I think it makes sense that we should at least protect our natural resources that we've made significant investments in as a Commonwealth and as a nation to set aside for the enjoyment of future generations. And failing that, at least study the impacts of these data centers when it comes to energy, workforce, local tax revenue, so that we can move forward with the $35 billion in additional data centers that seem to be coming with our eyes open and the data in hand to make these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Kulik, and I'm the Vice Chair of the HOA Roundtable of Northern Virginia. Our participating HOAs and civic organizations represent over 90,000 homes from the shores of the Potomac to the southern boundary of Dulles Airport across Alexandria, Fairfax, Prince William, Loudoun, and Fauquier counties, and we achieved this impressive participation in 1 year because of the extreme concern over the effects of massive industrial data center sprawl on our national and state parks and how these negative impacts detrimentally affect our quality of life and residential property value, which represents the largest single investment the average American family has. We are not activists, we are homeowners, families, veterans who served our nation, volunteers who serve our communities, hardworking Virginians who know the damage massive industrial data center complexes would inflict on the environs of our national and state parks, which protect priceless historic natural resources of the nation and the Commonwealth. Please support SB 1078 and SJR 240. Thank you very much.
You're down to 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Wyatt Gordon from Virginia Conservation Network. We ask you to support both measures. Thank you.
Madam Chairman and members of the committee, I'm Elizabeth Castelny with Preservation Virginia. We named these the threats of data centers to our Virginia's most endangered list in 2022, and we support these bills. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Connor Kish for the Sierra Club Virginia chapter, and we support both pieces of legislation. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Trip Pollard, Southern Environmental Officer, and we support these measures. Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chairwoman. Chris Moore, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We support these measures as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Bob Weir, Town of Haymarket. As one of those local governments that would be impacted by usurping our power, I implore you to do it to protect the rest of the Commonwealth from, quite frankly, some of our own incompetence. We really need to look forward, deal with this.
Thank you. I know that there are probably, I know a zillion people signed up on Zoom, but we don't have the time to listen to every single person on Zoom who signed up in support of the legislation. But if they could, I know they lined up on Zoom in support. Do we know how many?
Over 15.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
So
maybe-
we know we have 15 people on Zoom who are in support.
And I think the record can reflect it. If everyone in support of my bills could stand, please. And there are other folks in the hall.
I know there are people outside as
Yep.
well. Okay.
Just that the record reflects that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Those in opposition? You got the same requisite 7 minutes.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Miles Lauria on behalf of the Data Center Coalition, we oppose Senate Bill 1078. Since the Commonwealth is blessed with an incredible number of state and national parks, this bill still drastically limits the data center's ability to develop and grow. And that is also while continuing to permit more intensive economic development uses, industries, and projects that may be located on the same sites and may have larger and even more significant impacts. The bill does impact the viability of one of Virginia's largest and most successful sectors of the economy. Virginia is a worldwide leader in the data center industry. In 2021, the data processing, hosting, and related service industries was directly and indirectly responsible for supporting over 64,000 jobs, $5.5 billion in employee pay and benefits, $17 billion in economic output. VEDP has reported that data centers accounted for 62% of all capital investments that occurred across the Commonwealth in 2021. Senate Bill 1078 runs counter to policies and efforts by Virginia to attract data center investment and jobs. We believe it'll have a chilling effect, not just nationally, but internationally, if you pass these bills. We would ask if you oppose them. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Tim Kistler. I'm a resident of Catharpin, Virginia, and part of the Prince William Digital Gateway. My neighbors and many of the people online have asked me to represent them here today. So on behalf of the farmers whose kids don't want to farm anymore, we respectfully oppose Senator Peterson's legislation. At its heart, the Digital Gateway is a Prince William County project. The General Assembly has already provided a framework that allows localities to set zoning ordinances. Prince William is using its zoning ordinance to consider this project. After creating the framework, the legislation should not interfere with local zoning issues. SB 1078 asks the state government to block one and only one data center project after scores have been built in neighboring Fairfax and Loudoun counties. Economic boon. The bill is fundamentally unfair to Prince William residents who have chosen to develop their land. We ask that the property rights are respected and that the Digital Gateway is decided in Prince William County. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Don Sleeman, IVW Local 26. I live in Alexandria, Virginia. We have a training center in Manassas, less than a half a mile from the Battlefield National Park headquarters. Not only does these data centers create thousands of construction and prefabrication jobs for our local, but we have over 2,000 members who are currently refurbishing the data centers that are built in Loudoun County and plan to refurbish this Digital Gateway data center. So it's tons of ongoing work for us. This is great six-figure blue-collar jobs for the state of Virginia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Joe Lurch, representing the Virginia Association of Counties, speaking only to Senate Bill 1078 in opposition. And I think Senator Peterson probably laid out what our concerns would be in encroaching upon local land use authority. So, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm Heidi Cook with Old Dominion Public Affairs representing Vantage Data Centers. I will align my comments with my colleague Miles Lauria representing the Data Center Coalition, and we oppose both pieces of legislation. Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. David Skiles with Vector Corporation representing Compass Data Centers. Little did we know we were going to have the 6th Battle of Manassas today. I'll align my comments with Mr. Lauria. We're opposed to this bill. I think one thing that's very important to keep in mind, the area that Senator Peterson is referencing, Digital Gateway, went through a very extensive comprehensive plan review by the Prince William County Board of Supervisors. And so this is a lot of time and effort has been put into this, and I think those decisions are best left at the local level. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jennifer Wally, Deputy Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources. On behalf of the administration, we respectfully oppose the bill for the reasons previously stated by those before me. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee, Bisma Ahmed with the Apartment and Office Building Association. We align our comments with Miles Loria with the Data Center Coalition and ask that you oppose the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Emily Reynolds with Access Point Public Affairs. On behalf of the Prince William Chamber, the Chamber and the business community we represent feel this bill would have a negative impact on the viability of one of Virginia's largest and most successful sectors of the economy. By targeting a specific project, county, and industry, this creates uncertainty for the business community. It undermines the authority of local governments and deters companies from investing in and thoughtfully partnering with the communities. For these reasons, we respectfully request that you oppose the bill. Thanks so much.
Madam Chair, Jason Asher with the Mid-Atlantic Pipe Trades, United Association of Plumbers and Steamfitters. We ask you to oppose this legislation.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Phil Abraham, representing the Virginia Association for Commercial Real Estate, Commercial Industrial Developers in Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads and Richmond area. By continuing to apply to state parks, this bill has statewide impacts. These projects have tremendous local revenue benefits. In Loudoun County in FY22, it produced nearly a third of their general fund revenues. We urge you to oppose both measures. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Elizabeth Rafferty with Hunt and Andrews Kurth, here on behalf of the Virginia Economic Developers Association and the Northern Virginia Technology Council. And for all the reasons previously stated, we oppose this legislation.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Nick Blessing with Quality Technology Services. We would reiterate the comments of our colleagues and ask you to oppose these measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And how many do we have lined up in Zoom?
We have 6 speakers in Zoom, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you. 6. Okay.
Jose Ramos, if you can unmute.
No. We only have 58 seconds here. Okay, those in the audience who are opposed, if you could stand. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. All right. Chat.
Madam Chair, first of all, I want to thank both sides. I think this is a respectful debate. This is the appropriate forum for this debate. I do believe this is a statewide issue with all due respect to the local government in Prince William County, because I think it's something we're going to have to deal with at a state level. I do believe my 1078 is targeted. You can make it more targeted. But I do think that we need to put some limits on where we site these data centers. And as to the study, I just think that's self-explanatory. And I think I've said enough, and you all do what you do. Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Senator Favola.
I am going to move that we...
Hold up. Let me see if there are other questions.
Go ahead.
Before you start making motions now.
Sure.
Are there other questions to Senator Peterson? Senator Peterson...
Yes, ma'am.
Is there fiscal impact?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm aware.
Well,
there is, I have up to $260,000 fiscal impact.
Well, we haven't passed the Senate budget yet, so we can go find that.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Howe.
It's our usual practice that if rules passes a bill that has fiscal impact, it's automatically put in the budget.
Yeah, thank you, Senator.
All right.
Madam
Okay,
Chair.
so
I'll still go back to my motion.
okay, Senator Favola.
Well, first off, I do appreciate the debate. I mean, this is a really important issue for localities as well as for the Commonwealth. I do want to note, though, that coming from local government, Senator Peterson has had that experience as well. Localities can and do put conditions around whatever siting option they decide to go with. If they site a data center, they can require that it be so many feet away from natural resources. They have to honor the Chesapeake Bay resolutions and laws that have passed. So there are, local governments do have tools to be able to balance the environmental impact as well as the economic impact of data centers. So I understand where Senator Peterson's coming from. He is an unwavering advocate for the environment, and he really is a leader in that area. Having said all that, I am going to move that we PBI Senate Bill 1078 because I believe the study should come first. We need to figure out what we're going to get and what kind of role the state should play respecting the role of local government. And I think that's the resolution I am supporting. So to not confuse things, my motion right now is to PBI Senate Bill 1078.
Second.
Madam Chair.
Senator Vogel.
That's okay. It's still early. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a substitute motion, if I may. And speaking to that motion, I'd like to move that we report Senate Bill 1078. And I'll make an observation. I am very supportive of this study, but I also believe that Senator Peterson made a significant change to this bill when he amended it just to apply very narrowly and to guide our local governments just as it applies to our local parks and our historic resources. And I think that that is enough of a priority, and I know certainly in the community where I live that is the highest priority. And so I would offer a substitute motion that we report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll take the substitute motion first. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1078 be reported. All those in favor, please say, please vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 4, noes 13.
Ayes 4, noes 13. That does not report. So we'll move to the main motion, which was that the bill be passed by indefinitely. Those in support of that motion, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 13, noes 4.
Ayes 13, noes 4. So we will now move to the Senate Joint Resolution 240, which is the study.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion on that when you're ready.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Madam Chair, there's a substitute on that. I don't know if we've adopted it.
I think we did.
We did adopt the substitute. We did.
I move that we adopt the Senate Joint Resolution 240.
As a substitute.
Has we the substitute.
Second? Is there a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt Senate Joint Resolution 240, the amendment in the nature of a substitute. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that's adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. Okay. I'll just go down the list here. Senator Barker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two bills before us today in the Rules Committee here. The first one is Senate Bill 1343. It's a very short bill, and it would provide that the Commissioner of the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, shall create a process and guidelines.
Hold up, Senator Barker.
Sure.
Okay, you can continue.
Yes, thank you. This is Senate Bill 1343, and it provides, would require as a Section 1 bill that the Commissioner of DMV shall create a process and guidelines by which minors may access their own driving records on the Department of Motor Vehicles website. And that's basically the bill. So,
are there any questions to Senator Barker on 1343? Those here in support?
Those on Zoom who would like to speak in support of this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Anyone in opposition?
We have no speakers, Madam Chairman.
Okay, a motion on the bill.
Move to report. Second.
All those in favor of Senate Bill 1343, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0.
All right. The other bill that I have is Senate Bill 1404, and this would amend and reenact Section 2.2-208.1 of the code, and it would replace the School Readiness Committee and put in its place a creation of a Commission on Early Childhood Care and Education, and that specifies the purposes and membership of the commission that would be established here in early childhood care and education. This is a good bit of effort and time was put in during 2022 to come up with something that the advocates and the people who are professionals feel would help us address the issues and needs of young children and the early education under pre-K and those types of things. And with that, then we have this bill before us. So,
Any questions relative
there is a substitute? 8 amendments. Okay. All right. There are 8 amendments. I thought it was a substitute, but anyway, we have 8 line amendments, and I'll move those and have that reflected, reported by staff.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the amendments be adopted. Do we need to hear those?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The amendments have the effect of adding 2 citizen members, one educator from a public early childhood education program and one educator from a private early childhood education program. That's what the 8 amendments do.
Okay. Moved and seconded that the amendments be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Senator Barker.
Yeah, that's basically the bill that we have before us here. And when I think there may be some people who want to provide public testimony in support of this.
Okay, those in support of the bill, please come forward. You got 2 minutes.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Allison Gilbreth with Voices for Virginia's Children, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Ken Hutchison on behalf of the Virginia Early Childhood Foundation, with appreciation to the patron, we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Randy Pearson on behalf of the Virginia Promise Partnership. I want to thank Senator Barker for his leadership in this space, and we support the bill.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jeremy Bennett, representing the Virginia Association of Counties, VACO, and we support the bill.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. John Ward, Newport News Shipbuilding. On behalf of HII, we're pleased to support this bill.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Julie Dime with the Virginia Hospital and Healthcare Association, and we support the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and committee members, Shane Riddle with the Virginia Education Association. We really appreciate the stakeholders working with us to add 2 educators to the commission, and we appreciate the patron accepting that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone here in opposition? Okay. Are there any speakers on Zoom?
No, there are no speakers on Zoom,
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
Anyone here in opposition? Okay. All right. So we have Senate Bill 1404.
Move
I move that we report.
Second.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1404 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 17, no 0.
Ayes 17, no 0. That bill's reported. Senator Deeds. Deeds. That would be you.
2 bills in this committee, and the first one I'm going to do is 1292. 1292, I think there's a substitute And I'm going to offer an amendment to the substitute once we adopt that.
Second.
Moved and second that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those
Okay,
opposed?
the substitute in large part was designed to reduce the fiscal impact, and I'm going to reduce it even more by striking after, or on line 20, after 3, is striking establishing or building capacity of residential care and programs for trafficking victims, and 4. So I'm just striking the residential part of this, and that's primarily the fiscal impact. And I'll move that amendment.
Moved and seconded that the amendment be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That amendment is adopted.
Okay, what this bill does is, directs the Department of Criminal Justice Service in consultation with the Crime Commission to administer a 2-year demand reduction and safe harbor for domestic sex trafficked youth in a pilot program. Right now, sex trafficking victims can face imprisonment despite being a victim themselves. The purpose of this bill, though we've stricken a whole lot of the expensive part, but the purpose of the bill is still to reduce the number of arrests of sex trafficking victims, to reduce the demand for commercial sex by going after buyers, and to establish high-quality supports for victims such as education, employment opportunities, and housing, with the intention of ensuring a consistent response across the Commonwealth. This is a pilot project that will last for 2 years somewhere in the Commonwealth. The exact location is to be determined and will be confidential while the program's in operation. The budget amendment says I've got budget amendment, but I've taken, I think, most of the fiscal impact out of this bill. And I think there are people here that would like to speak to the bill. Camille Cooper would like to speak to the bill.
Ms. Cooper.
Madam Chair, my name is Camille Cooper, and I'm here today representing about 200 anti-trafficking organizations, some of which are in Virginia, some of them are national. The goal of this pilot project is to address the issue of sex-trafficked youth being criminalized, even for status offenses and things like that. What we really want is we want to be able to come up with a mechanism where, when they're identified, we can assess them, evaluate them, and get them referred to services. But we need to be able to build that infrastructure in the Commonwealth because right now we don't have it. So we thought the best compromise between just straight out changing all the laws would be to create a sort of demonstration pilot where we can prove that there's a way to be able to care for these survivors and to be less traumatizing as they come into contact with the criminal justice system, and that we get them into care, into services, and we just love on them. That's the goal. And then the other piece, of course, is going after the buyers, because if there's no buyers, there's no business. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the fiscal impact of this bill as introduced was like $3 million in fiscal year 24, $2 million in fiscal 25. The fiscal impact statement that was released this morning addressed the substitute. It was about $1.1 million a year. But I've just taken about $700,000 or $800,000 of the fiscal impact out when I took out the shelter. So, I don't have a more accurate fiscal impact, but I think it's dramatically less than even what it was proposed this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we can do for this pilot is to partner with some private providers that do the residential care piece, and that's going to significantly bring down that fiscal. We're just going to find some private partners to work on the residential piece. We're not going to not do it. We'll find a private solution to that.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Senator Favola.
A question. I guess in this pilot, you would be working with the local child protective services because under federal law, they actually have emergency custody of a child who has been trafficked, and they have to investigate whether or not the child should be returned to a family or not, or whether the child should go into foster care. So I would expect that that's got to be part of this pilot, since that's already the current law.
I think it says in the language that DCJS, as part of the program, will coordinate with CPS or court services. We want to be able to give them the flexibility to figure out how to create a best practice for these young victims. We don't want to be over-prescriptive for the locality. We want them to be able to work with CPS or court services or a local mental health board, or however they're able to figure that out, maybe even a local community hospital, But the goal is we don't want to handcuff these children and put them in the back of a squad car. They're victims, right? We want to get them into care, and we want to get them into services in the least traumatic way that we can. That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else here in support? Anyone in opposition?
Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I'd move to report the substitute as amended.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1292, amendment in the nature of a substitute, be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no. Janet?
Oh, I hit the wrong button.
17, no, 0.
Aye 17, no 0. That bill's reported.
Madam Chair, I've got one more bill, 1443, and it really flows out of a bill that was direct from Senator Edwards last year. He had Senate Bill 396 last year, and 1443 is a recommendation of the Child Dependency Legal Representation Work Group that came from that bill. The Office of Children's Ombudsman was tasked with convening a work group to examine Virginia's system of providing court-appointed legal counsel in child dependency cases in that bill. So what this bill does is creates a Section 1 study for the establishment of a Parents Advocacy Commission, including looking at a variety of models, such as the Virginia Indigent Defense Commission, and consideration of local or regional offices that would function similar to public defender's offices. Just briefly, the average number of children in foster care in Virginia is 5,023. We are consistently ranked among the worst states in terms of children aging out of foster care, and we have no training or practice standards for court-appointed lawyers who represent parents in court. This study will help chart a path forward to ensuring parents have access to high quality and effective counsel and to improving outcomes for kids. That's simply what the bill does.
Any questions to Senator Deeds on 1443?
Second.
Hold up. Anyone here in support of 1443? Just tell us quickly why you support it.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. A few years ago, because of studies showing that there are improvements to children when this kind of model is adopted, we are one of a minority of only 8 states that have not availed ourselves of federal funds to create this kind of model. So this is very timely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Allison Gilbreth with Voices for Virginia's Children. I will align my comments with Valerie LaRue.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Moore with the Legal Aid Justice Center, and for the reasons previously stated, we support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Eric Reynolds, Children's Ombudsman. Senator Deeds did a great job of explaining the bill, and I ask that you support it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here in opposition?
A second.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1443 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
17, no, 0.
Aye 17, no 0. Senate Bill 1443 is reported. Senator Evan.
First, I've got SJ 243. There's some line amendments. I would move that we adopt them, and I can explain them. What this does, this resolution expands the flooding commission to have representatives to address inland flooding, and
some amendments.
I move the amendments.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the amendments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay.
Okay. So with the amendments, what we've done is we've just added 2 additional local elected officials rather than the wider array contemplated in the original resolution, to include one from a rural community facing river run flooding, and one from an urban community affected by stormwater flooding. And it's also cuts down the fiscal impact, which was just like $8,300 or something before. It would just have fewer members. And this has been discussed with the commission the larger version. And I think that we're getting to the heart of what we need to do by adding these local elected officials to get their perspective and their work on this issue.
Any questions to Senator Eben? Those in support?
Madam Chair, I move that we report
Hold
SJ
on.
243.
She supports it. Anyone in opposition? Okay. We'll take the motion. The motion is to support? Okay. Senate Joint Resolution 243. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Okay, I have one other, Madam Chair, which is, has an amendment in nature of a substitute for Senate Bill number 1458.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of substitute for Senate Bill 1458, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Okay, this would require the Secretary of Labor, in collaboration with the Department of Health Professions, to convene a work group to study the use and potential to regulate temporary staffing agencies providing temporary staff in assisted living facilities, nursing homes, licensed hospitals, and adult day programs. And it lays out 4 things work groups would examine: the costs that the may have on effect on the employers in the Commonwealth, which board would be best suited to oversee any potential regulation of these temporary staffing agencies, whether temps currently provided by healthcare staffing agencies should be identified as employees of the healthcare agency or 1099 contractors, and regulations in other states for temporary staffing. My understanding is that this bill now has the support of the administration. It was brought to me by some private, by some facilities that were concerned, particularly with the bridge when someone who is a temporary employee in one of these facilities wants to become a employee of the facility rather than the temp agency, and some problems that we had because of it.
Any questions to Senator Eben on this substitute? Those in support? You can just wave. Okay. Any opposition? Okay.
I would make a motion, if it's appropriate, to report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1458, the amendment in the nature of a substitute, be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Eben.
17, no, 0.
Aye, 17, no, 0. That's reported. Senator Edwards.
Madam Chair, SR 241, SJ 241, simply continues a study that's being worked on by the Office of the Children's Ombudsman. There's a work group ongoing to consider issues relating to the Commonwealth's model of court-appointed legal counsel in child dependency cases, and to make recommendations for legislative and budgetary changes to be reported back November the 30th. Eric Reynolds is here if you want to hear him again. So I move that if there's no opposition to continue the same study, I move that the resolution be adopted.
Second.
This is just a continuing study, right?
Exactly.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that SJ 241 be reported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I have another one, Madam Chair.
SB 1270.
Yeah, Senate Bill 1270. This is a unanimous recommendation of the Joint Commission on Health Care, and Jeff Renardi has been here earlier, but what this does, it simply requires we're having billing challenges by managed care organizations in getting paid by Medicaid. And because of that, more poor people going to the emergency room than should go to the emergency room. And one of the problems is Medicaid doctors are not getting paid properly. And so this would be to do a study to require DMAS to collect and report on data for claims that are denied by managed care organizations or requires resubmission prior to payment and to collect and report the data. So we're thinking that if the Medicaid would pay the bills on time, then you'd have more people go to see the doctor rather than the emergency room. So that's, again, a unanimous recommendation of the Joint Commission on Healthcare.
Are there any questions regarding SB 1270?
Move to report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1270 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
17, no, 0.
Ayes 17, no 0. That bill is reported. Senator Favola.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got several bills, and I'll try to go through it. Let's go to Senate Joint Resolution 228. Madam Chair, what this does is it's a, hold on 1 second. It's a resolution that will direct the several departments here to, oh, my apologies. It's the Virginia Association of School Nurses who are asking for this bill, and we created a School Health Services Committee, I believe last year. The Department of Education conducted a study on what would be necessary to provide quality access to school nursing. And what this bill does, or what this resolution does, is it would require the Health Services Committee to look at the recommendations from the study of the Department of Education and determine how they could best be implemented.
Any questions to Senator Favola regarding Senate Joint Resolution 228?
Madam
Anyone
Chair.
in opposition?
I don't think there's any.
Okay.
I move that we report Senate Joint Resolution 228.
Moved and seconded that Senate Joint Resolution 228 be reported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Okay, so let's move to Senate Bill 830. This bill comes out of, it's a recommendation from the Commission on Youth, and what it does is it directs the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services to look at how we can develop best practices for sharing data and information to help our special needs students when they exit high school to get additional services, to access employment, to access higher education. So it's really bolstering a transition plan for our students who are leaving high school. And I sincerely hope that it is the wish of the committee to move forward and adopt Senate Bill 830.
Any questions with regard to Senate Bill 830?
And it is a Section 1 bill.
Anyone here in opposition to this? Okay.
Move to report.
Second.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 830 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no. That's slow.
17, no, 0.
Ayes 17, no 0.
Okay, Madam Chair, I only have two more. Senate Bill 831. This is a bill that I believe probably should go to Finance. What this bill...
No,
No?
ma'am. No.
Okay,
Finance
all
is
right.
done.
Okay. That's great. I'll never volunteer that again.
You're too late.
It's a Section 1 bill, and what this does is it directs DMAS to put together information to apply for a waiver under the Family and Individual Support, Community Living, and Building Independence waiver. So it would be a waiver to our plan to allow individuals to spend down if they had medical needs they could actually have income above the SSI or SSDI requirement. And if they have this additional income, they could use it for defined medical needs. Of course, if any waiver request, I believe, is shared with the Finance and Appropriations Committee and the House Appropriations Committee. This is a first step forward in this process. And there would be a report back on December 1st. This came out, this is a recommendation from the Disability Advisory Commission.
Any questions regarding this bill? Anyone here in opposition?
Move to report.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 831 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 16, no 0, 1 abstention.
Ayes 16, no 0, and 1 abstention. That bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My last bill is Senate Bill 885, and what this is, it's a study. It directs ABC to sit down with VDACs and other stakeholders to look at issues related to creating a Virginia beer distributing company. We have a Virginia wine distributing company. This came out of conversations in the Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee. There may be some issues in terms of, as the bill outlines, the size of the breweries who would be included in the beer distribution company, how they would operate, what requirements would be established for certain licenses, and a report would be required back to the chairman of the House Committee on General Laws and the Senate Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee by September 15th, 2023. We did work with the administration on this bill, so there you go. I respectfully move that this Senate bill pass. If you have questions or want to talk more about the beer distribution company, I do have an expert in the audience. But
any questions on Senate Bill 885? Anyone here in opposition to 885? Okay, move it.
Madam Chair, I move that we report Senate Bill 885.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 885 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Thank you. That completes my docket for this committee. Thank you.
Ayes 17, no 0.
Ayes 17, no 0. That bill is reported. Oh, Senator Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I have Senate Bill 1388.
The fish we thought we were done with.
That's right. Just when you thought it was safe, Madam Chair.
Yes, just when we thought it was safe.
So Senate Bill 1388 is fairly simple in what it seeks to achieve, and that is it directs the Virginia Institute of Marine Sciences to conduct a fairly, I'm sorry, there's a substitute. Let me move the substitute.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
And the substitute is a little less ambitious in its scope than was the original bill. We've worked with the Virginia Institute of Marine Sciences on the language and also with Chesapeake Bay Foundation on the language. So what we're trying to do, as you can see by the plain language of the bill, is attempt to get a handle on the status of the menhaden fishery in the Chesapeake Bay. It continues to be a bone of contention as to the health of that fishery. The Atlantic States Marine Fishery tells us that the coast-wide fishery, menhaden fishery, is robust. But there is evidence and some concern that there may be localized depletion in the Chesapeake Bay. And so what we attempt to do with this is finally, hopefully, put a period at the end of the sentence of that long simmering question by having our designated statutory advisor as to all things water-related, VIMS, take a deep, in-depth look at this and tell us what they think as to what's going on with the fishery in the Chesapeake Bay. I know we shifted regulation over to the VMRC some time ago, but this will be certainly a valuable tool to the VMRC as it considers what regulatory action to take regarding the reduction fishery and/or the bait fishery in the Chesapeake Bay. That's the bill, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I thought we were done with this fish. So
we will be after this, Madam Chair.
So this is another case of torturing the data until it confesses. Okay. So those here in support of the bill. Let's see. Let's give it 3 minutes.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Chris Moore, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. I'm also talking on behalf of Friends of the Rappahannock. As you all know, menhaden are a critically important species here in the Chesapeake Bay. And as Senator Lewis said, VIMS is our provider of research, education, advisory services to the Commonwealth of Virginia. This bill is focused just on research. We do research on blue crabs through the Winter Dredge Survey, oysters through our fall surveys, through striped bass through our Young of the Year survey. We don't have a directed survey for menhaden at this point. This is what that bill hopes to do. If you currently look on VIMS's website right now, they have 4 different research priorities, all which would be touched on by this bill. If you look at the most recent stock assessment for menhaden done by the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, they actually said that an area-specific survey as contemplated by this bill would be a huge improvement in our understanding of menhaden. If you currently look at the management plan, the Interstate Fishery Management Plan for Atlantic menhaden that we operate under, they list 34 different scientific research needs in that report, and one of those is to place observers on the vessels that work in this fishery. This bill does help develop a program for that. What it comes down to, Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is a good government bill. It simply directs our scientific advisors at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science to provide much-needed additional information on this fish and this fishery. Whether you harvest menhaden as part of your livelihood, whether you use menhaden as bait, whether you like to catch fish that eat menhaden, or you simply like to go out and watch whales and ospreys feed on menhaden, this bill helps protect the economy and the ecology of Virginia. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Steve Atkinson. I'm with the Virginia Saltwater Sport Fishing Association. I've been working on this thing for quite a while. Thank you, Senator Lewis, for introducing this bill. For many years, our members have been concerned about the impact of this massive industrial menhaden fishery operating in the bay. We've raised these concerns over the years, and frequently the comment we get is, there's no science to support your claim. So I think it's time we get some good science, and we strongly support this bill. The way I think about it is, Virginia's recreational fishery is worth about $1 billion a year to the state's economy. So we're going to spend a small amount of money to see what this thing might be doing to our recreational economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, Wyatt Gordon from Virginia Conservation Network, and we are in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Those in opposition. Oh, she disappeared. Those in opposition.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Ken Pinkert, and I'm an immediate past Vice President of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union Local 400, representing the fishermen and the workers on these boats in the menhaden industry. I'm also retired from 38 years, a commercial menhaden fisherman, fishing from the New Jersey to the Carolinas to Chesapeake Bay. As most of you all in this committee are aware, that the regulation was transferred from the GA over to the, with strong opposition from labor, to the VMRC about 2 years ago. But it was done, and that being said, the previous governor created a Menhaden Management Advisory Committee, Council, to review and discuss all regulations that could affect the industry. I was appointed to that committee representing labor, which has allowed me to put my input, therefore, to pass on to the VMRC. We have not heard on the Menhaden Management Committee any of such talks of this. We just see this bill come before us. I feel that anything that has a direct impact on our workers, this board was created so labor would have an impact, and that negates all of that. All the studies show from the Atlantic States fisheries that the menhaden fish is not being overfished. They're in abundance, as Senator Lewis said. They are robust
Down to a
abundance.
minute, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I'm going to yield my time. I think Doris Krause is on the virtual.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Susan Gaston with the Gaston Group on behalf of my client, Omega Protein. I feel like Dory in Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming. We do express opposition to Senator Lewis's bill. The legislation before you is a study by its scope and could take, we feel, several years to completely and comprehensively address the issues that are outlined in the senator's bill. I do realize there's a substitute. I've not had the opportunity to see that yet. Keeping on that time, Madam Chair. We do understand that and have participated for many years in studies and regularly cooperate with all of the agencies, whether it's VIMS, VMRC, ASMFC, and now MMAC, to make sure that we have the many studies that have occurred over the past couple of decades. Most could require enough research for a multi-year program as outlined in the senator's bill, looking at information from the federally compacted commission running from Maine to Florida. I think they're even unclear as to how long this may take over time, nor of the dollar cost. So while we appreciate the opportunity to continue working with Senator Lewis, we do express our opposition to his bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any folks on Zoom?
Yes, the speaker mentioned Doris is on Zoom. If you would like to unmute and provide your testimony now.
1 minute.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Doris Krause-Mays, President of the Virginia AFL-CIO, and all of the union members here in the state of Virginia, we oppose this legislation, and we would ask that the committee please vote the legislation down. Thank you.
Thank you.
That completes the speakers, Madam Chairman.
Senator Lewis.
Madam Chair, yes. Just in wrapping up, Madam Chair, it's a study. And it's a study that seeks to answer a question that everybody's been asking. It seems that some people might not want the answer to that question, which further begs the necessity of the study, I believe. And it's done by our statutorily designated advisor on these things, the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. It doesn't get any more neutral or fair, I don't think, than that. And so I just think we need to, as I said, put a period to this sentence, find out what the health of the fishery is in the Chesapeake Bay, and then move on from there.
Thank you, Senator Lewis. So we have Senate Bill 1388 before us. It's moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1388 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 14, noes 3.
Ayes 14, noes 3. That bill's reported. Where's my cheat sheet?
Something that's got 9 different ones.
Senator Lucas.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I have 2 bills before the committee, and I know Senate Bill 1248 has an amendment that was offered by my colleague, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move the substitute for Senate Bill 1248. If I can get a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted for Senate Bill 1248. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have the substitute.
Louise, you want to explain it?
Yes. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 1248 requires that corporations request and tax breaks or incentives from the state of Virginia have gender balanced and diverse boards. This bill is very specific for only those corporations asking for incentives. It is not saying all companies or corporations in Virginia are required to have gender balanced and diverse board. This requirement will be amended into the Major Employment and Investment, MEI, Project Approval Commission, where approval or denial of such packages are reviewed based on the following criteria: return of investments, the time frame for repayment of the incentives, and the amount of capital investment that is required and the average wages of the jobs created by the MEI. Madam Chair, I could give you more information, but this bill has been heard before. It just has now this amendment added to it that was suggested by my colleague, Senator Peterson. And so with that, Madam Chair and members of the committee, I would just recommend that the bill be approved.
Madam Chair. Speak in support of the motion.
Senator Peterson.
The substitute basically gives flexibility to companies that 30% of the board either is women or historically underrepresented groups. So I think that gives them flexibility. And as Senator Lucas already said, these are folks that are coming forward and requesting tax breaks from us.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. Are there other questions or comments? Anyone here in opposition?
Move to report. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1248, the amendment in the nature of a substitute, be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 13, noes 4.
Ayes 13, noes 4. That bill is reported. Senator Lucas.
Yes, Madam Chair. Senate SJ 251 has to do with the Black World War II veterans, acknowledging with profound regret denial of benefits under the GI Bill. And I think, Senator Norman, did you have an amendment to? Yes, you did. You made it last week.
If I may, Madam Chairman, I think that the amendment is to address a concern that Senator Norman raised at the last meeting, and and what it would do on line 48 after measures strike toward rectification of and insert addressing.
Now I remember. Thank you. I believe that. Thank you, Madam.
So we want to adopt that amendment? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so with that amendment, do we want to move the resolution? Okay, moved and seconded that Senate Joint Resolution 251 be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we have that amendment adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Senator Marston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In my effort to be Senator of the Day, I would like to PBI both of my bills. The first, 980, is being effectuated in the budget, and Senate Bill 1148 is being accomplished through the efforts of Senator McClellan and her Senate Bill 1329. Take them up separately or in a block?
We have to take them
move
up
they
separately.
be PBI.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 980 be passed by indefinitely. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It has to be on the board. 980 first.
Ayes 17, noes 0.
Ayes 17, no 0 on 980. Secondly is Senate Bill 1148 to be passed by indefinitely. Those in favor, vote aye. If you really want it, you can vote. Yeah.
Ayes 17, noes 0.
Ayes 17, no 0. So that's passed by indefinitely. Senator Norman, you want to take up Senate Bill 1357?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senator Marston's got us going in a good direction on Senate Bill 1352. I'd move to strike that.
57?
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1352 be stricken from the docket. All those in favor, please designate electronically.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. So.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On Senate Bill 1352, 1357, I have an amendment in the nature of the substitute.
Motion on, that's accepting the substitute.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adopt a substitute for Senate Bill 1357. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we have the substitute.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is another version of what last year was Senate Bill 38, which was dealing with certain changes that may be made within the Capitol and was taking the capital preservation
Capital Square Preservation Committee. What the amendment and the nature of the substitute does after conferring with some of the interested party is that it changes that the Committee on Rules shall review all plans, alterations, improvements, et cetera, contained in the Capitol building and the Senate chambers in the Old House in Rotunda.
Are there any questions to Senator Norman on Senate Bill 1357?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Senator Evans.
So does this mean, like, we have a commission, I think, to, or made some efforts to commemorate a former senator, that we would have the House members would have to approve that sort of thing?
Madam Chairman, what I would say, this is directed, as you may recall, a couple of years ago that a unilateral decision was made to remove some artifacts and statutes from the Capitol, and while it was under the purview of the other body, that it did raise some issues. Last year we reported the bill that would have allowed the Capitol Square Commission to review that. I think that commission is being reconsidered. So this pertains to, if you look at the bill, the disposition of any monument, statutory artwork, or historical artifacts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was asking about additions. I know that we had voted to add a memorial to Senator Miller, and I was just wondering, why we would have the House involved in additions to the Senate chamber, but I get the spirit of the bill.
Madam Chairman, you're shaking your head. Excuse me, I mean Madam Clerk.
to do something with Senator Miller, but it doesn't have anything as of now to do.
They would have nothing to do with it.
Okay.
I move we report the bill.
Hold a second.
There's two amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The two amendments would be on, the first one is on line 16, after within the old strike and the new Senate chamber. So that line would read within the old Senate chamber.
Madam Chair, I've requested that new come out so that joint rules is not telling the Senate what to do in the Senate chamber, and joint rules is not telling the House what to do in the House chamber, current chamber.
I move the amendment.
Moved and seconded that the amendments be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
You want to do the one on 17, Amigo?
Yes, the second amendment is on line 17. It would be to, after and, you would strike new halls of the House of Delegates.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded that that amendment be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Move to report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Senate Bill 1357 be adopted as amended. All those in favor, please so indicate. Yea or nay?
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
17, no, 0.
Ayes 17, no 0. That bill is adopted. We have one bill left. Senator Vogel, you stand between us and recess.
Just like Finance Committee. I am so lucky. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have Senate Bill, 1407. And what this bill does is, this came to me at the request of some constituents who were concerned about the state of care in residential assisted living facilities that have less than 25 residents. So we've worked on this, and I have a substitute, and I would like to move the substitute.
Moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
And Madam Chair, what the substitute does, if anybody's reviewed the bill, is it narrows it substantially. And what the bill does is it directs the Board of Social Services to amend the standards for these kinds of assisted living facilities. It excludes two kinds. The one set of facilities where they have very safe and secure facilities, and also those that have a mixed population, that's memory care, or those who have cognitive issues. Two, it would direct the staff to have some kind of standards for education and continuing education, and also it establishes a minimum age of 16 for people who are working in that facility. And it also says that if you're under the age of 18, you need to be under supervision of somebody who is over the age of 18. So that's what this bill does. I know it is not universally embraced, but I do have some concern about how our assisted living facilities may be handling that population. And so with that, I would move we report the bill.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Howell.
could I ask the clerk a question, please? I'm just curious why the bill is here rather than in rehab.
Wait a minute.
We just, rehab we just completed our docket on Friday.
was
We
here all
meet on
along.
Fridays, I don't know. We can meet at our desk.
Well, I'm just, Madam Chair,
Senator Howell.
I'm just curious because this bill has always been here.
I'm not sure. I don't know why it came here.
Madam Chair, we had an earlier assisted living bill, I noticed. I wondered if it was just kind of lumped in with that subject matter, but I was curious too until I heard another one earlier today, but I had no idea why it came to rules.
Madam Chair, I have no desire to hurt this bill. I think it's a great bill, but it just strikes me as in the wrong committee. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I think there is a person that came to speak against the bill, I believe.
We don't want to hear him. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, I don't either.
Okay. Hold on one second. Let us see if we can resolve this, because if it's in the wrong place, we can always have it heard at your desk.
Yes, I was going to offer that, but this actually has more implications than you would ordinarily expect for a bill to be heard at your desk. So, I mean, we can always have a special meeting of rehab, I guess.
I think it was
But
in light of directing the agency to do something.
could we, may I ask the, Madam Chair?
Okay, let's
I have a
hear the
suggestion.
testimony, and then we'll have further discussion.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Scott Johnson. I'm General Counsel to the Virginia Healthcare Association and the Virginia Center for Assisted Living, and we are opposed to the bill and the substitute. I want to thank Senator Vogel. She earlier in the meeting walked all the way around there to make sure I had seen the substitute. But let me just use an example as to why we are opposed to this substitute. The law today says that staff that work in assisted living facilities on day one hire have to be CPR trained and first aid trained. If you look at the substitute before you on line 13, it basically says people can work for a period of 3 months before they get the training. So here's my example. We've got 20 people in an assisted living facility. The substitute you're being asked to vote on would allow there to be 2 staff persons. One is age 16, has not been CPR trained, has not been first aid trained. The other staff member is age 18. That staff member is in the bathroom when grandma has a heart attack and falls, or grandma cuts herself, and you then have an untrained staff person there. Senator Vogel was kind enough to share that there was one facility in her district that asked for this, but when you look at the standard, our belief is grandma ought to get quality care whether she's in a facility of 25 or 125, and I respectfully ask you to not go forward with this legislation. Glad to answer any questions, and I think there may be others to testify too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. I'm Judy Hackler with the Virginia Assisted Living Association, and we share the concerns expressed by Scott with the Virginia Healthcare Association. And also, I know that a lot of people think that there's not very many communities that are 25 and under, but I know that some of the data shows that there's at least 170 communities that would fall into that category. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone here in support? I know I asked for opposition. I didn't ask for support.
Madam Chair, if there's nobody support.
Senator Edwards.
In the interests of the health of grandma, I move we PBI the bill.
I will second that, and maybe next year we can do something more. Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1407, the amendment in the nature of a substitute, be passed by indefinitely. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
Ayes 15, noes 1. That concludes our docket for the day. Thank you all for accommodating the time.
Sorry.